Welcome to the November 2020 episode of CORESafety TV, brought to you directly from the National Mining Association in Washington, D.C. I have a really interesting interview for you this month that deals with a longitudinal work boot study being conducted by the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, or NIOSH. Now, this is an important study because of the high number of dangerous slips, trips, and falls that miners often experience while on the job. Our guest this month is Ashley Whitson. She was an engineer at the Pittsburgh Mining Research Division of NIOSH when she started working on this particular study during the summer of 2017. She's now with the National Personal Protective Technologies Laboratory, NPPTL, in Pittsburgh. So, Ashley, thank you for joining us today on CORESafety TV. I'm really excited to learn about this work boot study.
Hi, Nelson. It's great to be here, virtually at least. I'm excited to explain a little bit about our research today.
So let's start out by telling our viewers the official name of the study and describing what it's all about.
The longitudinal boot study was part of a larger NIOSH project, which was about slip, trips, and falls. So the official project title was Slip, Trip, and Fall Hazard Identification, Investigation, and Remediation at Surface Mining Facilities. And the main goal of the entire project was to develop tools for remediating slip, trip, and fall hazards. So for the longitudinal boot study specifically, the goal was to provide recommendations on when boots should be replaced based on your job description and the amount of time that you spend in the boots, so that you can continue to get the adequate protection that you would expect from a pair of safety boots. And then as the study progressed, we ended up seeing that there were more things going on with the boots. So our secondary goal kind of turned into qualitatively looking at the boots as a whole. So the uppers, the leather cracking, that kind of thing. And then we wanted to translate all of the hazards that we saw into communications back to the mine so that they could help remediate those on their own sites.
Okay, so I understand that you had 2 mining operations, surface mines, with a total of 42 individual participants. And then what would happen is that the participants would be given the boots and they could wear them up to 2 years during the study, and they could return them, though, anytime that they wanted to.
The mine workers who participated could pick any pair of boots that they wanted. So we would have them look for something online, send us their size and the model number that they wanted, and we'd order that for them. So they wore all different types. Yeah, so the study involved actually traveling to mine sites every 3 months. And so that was done largely by myself and Lydia Coker. And then also on the project were Janisha Pollard and Mahir Nasarwanji. But we are calling this a longitudinal study because we actually wanted to see how the boots wore over time and see if we could pinpoint a spot where damage started to occur. So we wanted to go back every 3 months is what we decided, and measure them periodically so that we could sort of track it over time.
How did you go about measuring the wear that was taking place on each pair of boots?
When we first ordered the boots, we shipped them back to our facility so that we could take some initial measurements of them. So we took initial 3D scans, we took initial surface area prints, and a lot of photographs of the boots. And then we delivered them to them in person so that we could collect some demographic data, height and weight, that kind of thing. And then every 3 months when we would come back, we would ask that they leave their boots at the end of their shift. We'd come pick them up, take some more pictures, clean them up, rescan them, and then deliver the boots back before they would need them for their next shift. And then when they came and picked them up, we would have them take a step in their boots in an ink pad and then take a step across a piece of paper to track the surface area measurements.
So Ashley, tell us a little bit about the laser scanners that you used and how they work.
So this is the 3D scanner that we used. These are where the lasers would come out of. And then this is like a camera. and it's portable so that we could take it with us to the mine sites and scan them while they're there. We had our technician, Mary Ellen, build us a little rig that would hold the boots upside down like this. And so we'd set it in there, and then you'd use the scanner like this. Imagine laser beams coming out, and that's how it would measure it. And so it actually uses these little markers right here, which are retroreflective markers. And it essentially measures the distance between these dots. So it knows exactly the size of these markers, and it will measure the distance between all of them. So the more random, the better. And it'll just create a mesh file of a bunch of like millions of little triangles. And it'll essentially build a 3D model of the boot tread. With the 3D scanner, we were only interested in the boot tread, so just the part here. And we wanted to see how much would be worn away over time. So every 3 months. So like this is a brand new boot. We actually ordered 2 of every pair so that we would have a new one for comparison and then the worn ones.
Okay, Ashley, so what were you actually looking for in terms of the wear and tear on the boots? What did you learn from this study?
If you can imagine walking through or slipping through a puddle, the liquid or water would travel through these channels and out from underneath the boot so that you don't slip on it. But this one, I mean, those channels are all gone. So that's what we were looking at to see, yes, the outside tread wears away, but what's really happening is that those channels are getting a lot more shallow. So you can't evacuate as much fluid, and therefore you could be more likely to slip.
So obviously then a worn out sole could really be dangerous. What else did you learn?
One thing that really came out of this that surprised us, I should say, was that some of the boots are rated for electrical hazard protection. But there's an important caveat to that. So the standard that they are rated towards states that that rating only applies for boots that are new and dry, which is not a very common mining environment. Another interesting area of damage that we saw was internal damage. So like MSHA requires safety toe boots be worn anywhere where a hazard exists. And then if you looked at the standards for those safety toe shoes, it recommends that you replace them anytime there's like something that falls on them or anytime that those plates are damaged. So we do have an example of a boot that we cut in half because the safety toe was damaged. It's kind of an interesting view that you might not always get to see. This one, you can see, has been back together. So the sole was separating pretty bad here. And then it's also cracking, if you can see that.
Yeah.
There's another part where water could get in. And then we have the more extreme version of where a sole could pretty much separate completely.
So when we were talking earlier, you mentioned that you categorized most of the differences in work boot wear into 5 or 6 categories. I believe that they mainly included maintenance and utility workers, plant operators, mobile equipment operators, and office workers. Which group was wearing the boots that you've been showing us so far?
Those were mostly plant operators and maintenance and utility workers. But just for comparison, this is 2 years of a mobile equipment operator's boots. So pretty much brand new.
Really fascinating, Ashley. So tell me this, the study went on from 2017 to 2019, right? So what's happened since then?
Yeah, so everyone returned their boots by the summer of 2019. And then once we received all of the boots back, we had them tested for slip resistance and electrical hazard protection. So we kind of continued to do some of the analysis, and then we'd also take all those scans. So I would overlap each new scan and then measure the difference between the 2 scans, and that's how I determined exactly how much material was worn away from the boots. So I took the rest of those measurements. We went through and tracked the exact amount of surface area over time. So we just kind of finished compiling all that data, got back all of our testing results, and now we're working on putting them into peer-reviewed journal papers. And once those are accepted and published, we can really start to take that information and turn it into useful infographics and trade publications, magazine articles.
That's really great. So having put this much time and effort into this one particular study, do you have any one main message that you'd like to share with us?
So I would make my one takeaway message to be to inspect your boots daily. Definitely clean them after every shift so you can get the debris off of them and really see what kind of damage is occurring. And then just take an extra few seconds and look for holes or separating seams. A lot of the times you'll actually feel it before you see it. So you definitely know when you have wet socks, that means that you have a hole somewhere, which means that you've lost insulation. So it's time to start considering replacing them. Even though our finalized project and results are not out yet, we do have a number of publications, infographics, so I encourage you to visit the NIOSH webpage. We have some stickers that are related to slip, trips, and falls. So there's definitely still some things out there that you can use and check back when we have our finalized publications.
Okay, Ashley, well, thank you very much for taking the time to do the interview with us. And on behalf of NMA and CORESafety, I want to tell you how much we appreciate the hard work that you and your team put into doing this study.
Well, thank you very much for your interest. We are glad you guys are putting it out there in a way that people can understand and are interested in. And by all means, contact me or any of our team members if you have any questions.
So Ashley also told me that the 42 miners who participated had to keep a regular log about any slips, trips, falls, or near misses they experienced during the time of the study. Those logs were then submitted to NIOSH, who then scrubbed them of any personal identifiable information, like the miners' names, and then communicated that general information back to the mining operations that participated in the study, along with the rest of the data. All right, and here's one last work boot tip for the day. If you're a miner who walks a lot on the job, you must replace your boots more often than your coworkers who walk less, such as equipment operators. Good information to remember. Now, up next, it's time for a new video nugget. CORESafety's module number 7, Culture Enhancement. Check it out. Culture is measured and assessed through a confidential employee perception survey and employee interviews, where appropriate. Companies may elect to conduct their own cultural assessment, use the CORESafety assessment tool, or work with an external expert. The latter approach ensures confidentiality and optimal data analysis. Once strengths and weaknesses are identified through the assessment process, a culture enhancement plan can be developed and implemented. Key indicators of positive supported cultures include trust among managers and workers and between workers and managers, fair and equitable treatment of employees, comfort about reporting incidents and a strong interest in understanding what caused the incident, a constant state of vigilance regarding hazards and risk, no complacency, a pervasive sense of personal and group safety and health responsibility, and consistent accountability to match. Safety and health as common organizational values. Consistently empowered workers who are confident regarding management safety and health approach. Culture is driven through leadership and cascades through the entire organization. As a result, the attitudes, actions, behavior, and communication of managers have the greatest impact on safety culture, but not to the exclusion of workers who sustain the culture. You can learn more about module number 7 by going to our website at coresafety.org. And in December, we'll continue with CORESafety module number 8, Collaboration and Communication. Until then, please be sure to follow our updates on Facebook and Twitter. For CORESafety and the National Mining Association, I'm Nelson Duffel. I'll see you here again next month. In the meantime, please be safe out there, and thanks for watching. Special thanks to NIOSH for this month's interview and for providing the work boot videos and photographs. Also, special thanks to Creaform for the photos of the HandyScan 3D Metrology Grade Portable 3D Scanner.
To share one of your safety stories, videos, or photos, email us at info@coresafetytv.org.